Hello and welcome to the Kiwi Advisor Network podcast. Today's episode is with Daniel Lipman from Blueprint Finance. Daniel has a unique story because at the ripe old age of 21, he joined the financial advice industry with no financial services background. I mean, he did study at uni, but it's a great story because Daniel has spent now 8 years in the industry and he's been recognized as one of the top advisors in that period 3 years in a row. Now, even if you're not a mortgage advisor, there are some great takeaways for this one in terms of setting up your business, creating a marketing strategy, and really nailing it on your process so that's a good fit for your clients. Daniel's funny. He's a great speaker. In fact, I think in this podcast, there's one line that he said that's made me laugh harder than any other episode I've ever done. Not take that away from any other guest, but this one in particular was really good. Remember, this counts towards your CPD points. You can log this into your register. And also, if you want to listen to this via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can find us there if you are watching this on YouTube. But otherwise, I hope you get value from this. And if you do enjoy it, feel free to share it with somebody else. It really helps our growth. But otherwise, sit back and enjoy. Daniel, I've been waiting such a long time to have this conversation with you. I feel like you've got a lot to give and you've got a lot of experience in the industry for such a young guy. Thank you for joining me today.
Such a pleasure, Warwick. I'm a massive fan of the podcast. You know, I'm always in there in the comment section.
I noticed that.
Love to share the industry with the people that have been on here and some massive names. So happy to be here and share a bit about my story.
You know that phrase, people don't remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
I remember when I posted one podcast and it was on the advisor Facebook page.
Yeah.
And you put this hilarious comment. I can't even remember the content, but I remember one part saying, "This is great, two titans of the industry."
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that was gold. So.
Well, I mean, titan of the industry. It's when I say that word, you can think of some names straight away. You know, like your Jeff Rawls, for example, guys that have been around and contribute a lot to the community. You know, which is I think beyond being a really good mortgage advisor and writing a decent amount of lending should be a goal. To keep contributing and keep building an industry where there's a high standard of people who are working and representing the lenders and our community. So, yeah.
I think we're getting there. The community vibe is great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And yes, long may it continue.
Yeah.
Now,
Here.
So I'm stoked to have you on here because your journey is quite different to a lot of people. You didn't come from the traditional, bank to mortgage broking route.
No.
You started out as a young buck. Like, how old were you when you joined the industry?
I was actually 20 because I was finishing my finance degree at university, and the plan was to go and do a grad role. So I had been looking at that because that was everyone was talking at class. This is the way to go. You go get your grad role at the bank, and then you climb the ladder and that sort of thing. So, and then maybe you want to look at investment banking later, but you start off at your BNZ, your ANZ through the grad program. So I was really excited for that. And then my brother had already been working at the bank for 2 years, and then he moved on to work for, iRefi at the time, which is obviously now the Mortgage HQ. And he said to me, "Hey, look, I've been down the path that you're going. This is a much better opportunity. So just come straight and work for us. We've got some work for you, and we've got a pathway for you." So it was really exciting at the time. I jumped on with them, and when I was still 20, finishing up my degree, and then I finished my degree. And then I had done 4 months of loan processing with them, sort of in their mortgage associate role, and then jumped straight into the Strategy course to get my stripes with the residential lending strand. And my 21st birthday, I was there.
Oh,
yeah. So that was pretty cool.
And did they make you do a yardie, or did you do 21 shots?
Yep, Sue Grant poured my yard glass. And it was a party. No, I mean, the people there were great. And it was exactly like you're saying. It was people, older crew that had come from the banking role, Triple M or that sort of thing.
I can't get over this, the visual of Sue Grant.
Yeah. No, lovely person. And then heaps of characters who I still know now. I did it with Jason Longo from now Buddy Mortgages.
Legend.
So it's been cool to see his journey as well. And we sat next to each other, and he was very funny and encouraging about the path I was going down. And Yeah, it was just brilliant. And the support from, as a young person, not having their experience and saying, hey, if you do this properly, you can really have a go at it. So it was great. Yeah.
And joining at RFI now, Mortgage HQ, I know they've done an amazing job nurturing new talent to the industry.
Yes.
They have the marketing machine that I know provides their advisors with a lot of leads. Like, how did you find that early stage, and what did you learn in your first couple of years?
Oh, the exposure across so many different client situations was incredible. As a young mortgage advisor working on a team that was pushing for excellence and also a high level of lending, we just got to see so many different files, so many different ways to get the job done. And I feel like, compared to maybe working in an environment where you didn't have that much exposure to inquiries, you wouldn't have gotten, a good handle on the high level of volume to go through all those situations and the troubles that you see and the mistakes that you see happen. Because, the nature of the job is that you have to make a lot of mistakes. And sometimes, sadly, that involves letting clients down. But the more that you go through it and then you see other advisors make those mistakes so you don't make it yourself, that exposure was incredible to fast track the journey. Yeah.
Your knowledge would have accelerated through that period where, if you'd gone out on your own, maybe early doors, where you are now and where you would be if you'd done that.
Yeah.
It's just completely different.
I think so. There's so many ways to build a career in this, in the mortgage industry or financial services in general, but I was just really happy with the journey I took. And just at the point now with Blueprint Finance, the tools I had from the previous company just gave me a very good level of confidence. Yeah.
Great. Now I can see you're doing a great job, and I've seen you on those top advisor lists. I know it's not everybody. You probably embarrass me saying like you don't put a lot of stock in them, but it is cool to be recognized and be up there. And I think for the last 3 years, you've been included in that list.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, full credit to the amazing support that I had at Mortgage HQ to get to that point as well. And it was definitely, something that's discussed in the office because awards in all industries are super important to pronounce your abilities and the fact you've been recognized. Some people don't put a lot of stock in them. Some people actually think that they're a bunch of bunk. But I think awards, when I deal with people in other services, it speaks a lot to the value that they put in their own service, and also the fact that other people in the industry are saying, hey, these guys are legitimate. So, we really work towards at least those. We strive to get some form of award in certain areas. And I think it's really important, just to acknowledge your business. And there's so many different awards you can get now in financial services. And so I think just aligning yourselves with one, maybe if it's to be on the top advisor list for NZA or anything like that, for us was something that it's something nice to strive towards,
So often you're just stuck in the weeds day to day, helping clients, some you can't quite help. And it can kind of feel like running on a treadmill. So sometimes it is nice to just sit back, take stock and go, hey, I did something.
Yeah. And it's nice to be recognized amongst other people who, all those challenges you have with customers that seem so personal because you're dealing with people's finances and you're in the thick of it with their journey. It can be a bit isolating. And to think that, hey, I did this amount of lending, but so did, the advisor next to me, and they would have gone through their own journey. But you feel like there's that community, right? We're all going through these challenges with the industry and loan applications and the nitty gritty of it. But then you feel like you're in the trenches with your fellow advisors. So I think it's awesome. Yeah.
So you've gone through that route and you've learned a lot in that period, been successful.
Yeah.
And you've gone away to Europe. You've come back with a fresh idea.
Yes.
And you're going, I want to start my own thing, which is where Blueprint Finance has started.
Absolutely, yeah.
How has that process been? How many months are you into it now?
I think almost pushing 6 months now. Yeah.
Okay. And what are the key lessons or takeaways that you picked up in that time?
Key takeaways was, I think I was very privileged to have the 7 years at Mortgage HQ to get a really good understanding how to run a good business. And I learned a lot from just working at that business, but also I worked hard to build a network of advisors, financial advisors outside of that company to understand how everyone does it, because there's so many different ways to build a great business. And, in this industry, I've never, ever, ever reached out to someone and asked for an opinion or help and been shot down or told no. Everyone was willing to help and provide advice. Some great advisors out there. Won't name them all, but it's a long list of people who have sort of given me some tools and some recommendations and refer me to the right people to get the right infrastructure set up for the business. So at never at any stage of it did I feel like I was winging it, because the people who had done it before were there to help. And that was so encouraging that it wasn't this feeling of, oh, no, you're my competitor now, because the great advisors, they don't think like that. They think, here's this industry. Okay, how many loans are settled through mortgage advisors? Last year, it's between 50 and 60% of residential home loans written in this country went through MAs. The rest was direct to bank. That's what we need to change, rather than competing with each other. We need to get that 40%, right? We need
Once
to
you get the 40%, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a frenzy, a mortgage frenzy. Yeah. So that's, the great advisors have that. That's how they think. Your advisors who maybe do, it's the abundance mindset. It's the abundance mindset, which I think people were willing to help, because they see, they know what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a great business that strives for a high level of financial advice and extremely, extremely professional outfit, right? That's our mission statement, part of our mission statement at Blueprint Finance. And the other people that we have leaned on for advice trying to do the same thing with their businesses. So yeah, the support for there has been great. Other professionals outside the industry, design, marketing, all our personal network as well to help with that. It's just been fantastic. So I think leaning on others to get the job done has been fantastic to get the infrastructure set up so we can just focus on what we really are good at, which is the advice.
And so relatively young in the industry, you didn't come from the bank. So those relationships with advisors, how did you build that? Did you just pick up the phone, or
you'd meet a lot just by going through events and training days, that sort of thing. But a lot of them, the relationships were established at Mortgage HQ, maybe some advisors who left and moved on, and then otherwise ones who just bump into it, events and those sorts of things. And a couple, just pick up the phone and say, hey, maybe you're also a young guy in the industry, or this is what I see you're doing and I love it, and connect that way. Because there's so many different businesses. For example, Mortgage HQ, we've invested heavily, or the team invested heavily in the digital marketing side of things, and that's where we generated most of the inquiries, where you got some others who write a really high amount of business and they're referral only, which is incredible. So just seeing, getting an idea of how different people do it, and then, okay, how are we going to do it? Yeah.
And when you start from scratch, it must be exciting because you got a blank canvas, effectively. When you're building out things for a process for a first home buyer, or what does that look like, and how have you implemented that into your business?
Yeah, so I think the foundation is already there, because after doing so many settlements, especially for first home buyers, what the perfect process looks like. So it was sitting down with our team, and we actually spent a couple of days on this to, like you're saying, blank canvas, completely redefine what our process is going to look like. What's the most efficient process to maximize our lending amount, while also giving the client an incredibly slick journey. And it's crazy because, as you go on, you start to realize those things are actually, they're not mutually exclusive. They run alongside each other. If you can design a process that's incredibly slick for the customer, generally you'll find that it's more efficient for yourself, and it's actually way easier to write more volume. So we spent some time just blank canvas building it out. Obviously, the support from Can and Trail gives you 60 to 70. Yeah, shout out to Can and Trail. The incredible Trail software, which is we fully, previously in the past, there were some key features that we kept outside of the process, but being able to redesign it, we lent into those features from Trail to maximize it, because once you actually fully lean into it, it just gives you back so much. That's what we've as advocates for the software, that's what we think. So the CRM was a huge part of that sort of mapping out, and we just went from there.
Not that I want it to be like a big,
promo
to us, but
Yeah.
like what are some specific parts? Maybe just one that you could pick out that you're like, oh, previously we hadn't, but now we're using it. We're like, this is great.
So the full pipeline management is incredible for prospects and for the active pipeline once the client's completed the fact find. So that process, once you actually lean into it and you keep your activities up to date, you keep your deals up to date, it's an incredible way to track your lending volume as a company, but to also structure key points where no client will ever slip through the cracks. Obviously, that period between, sort of strategy session, once you've done the client interview, they've completed the fact find, you've sat down to discuss what we're going for at the bank, the terms of the application. This we call it the strategy session. That part to approval, 60 to 70% of your issues in terms of clients pushing back, potentially complaining or having some problems are going to come in that part of the pipe. So it's about getting super aware of everyone that's in this pipeline till they get to conditional approval. This is where we have to nail it. We have to be super on for these customers. They take priority because these are where things go wrong. These are where expectations get set incorrectly and we have to recorrect them. And if those are the ones that you let sit for a couple of days, you're going to get in trouble. So that pipeline management's been incredible in Trail. And then also the email integrations where you can trigger emails as you move clients across the pipeline is huge. Yeah. So massive time savers, but also hugely beneficial to the client to keep them updated and keep the communication to an incredibly high level. So that was a key focus when we were building this was communication. That was the word we kept saying was, okay, in the past, when we let clients down, if we have, it's because of that. So how can we double down, learn from our mistakes and not let that happen again to build a perfect process?
Yeah. Mate, that makes me really happy to hear.
Yeah, it's super exciting. You just got to do the work, right? But yeah, it's easy to say it, but you have to keep disciplined. Yeah.
And I guess, one of the luxuries you have, it's starting from scratch. You can just really build it in, but I can see why, for an existing business, it can be difficult to allocate that time.
Massively. Yeah, because you've got a due obligation to your existing customers. And then when can you find time to pull back and rebuild the process? I'm sure some, just fully just say, okay, turn the wheels off. We've got to get this one done, then we can get back in. But obviously some businesses that just write an insane amount of volume. It's obviously the number one problem is process, right? And just constantly refining it and getting it really efficient. So yeah, you're exactly right.
One thing we did years ago at Trail, this would have been my first year, we went for a company retreat and the company was quite small at the time. I think we had like 12, 14 people. It was a perfect size where I booked a whole company retreat for a weekend away for like under $3,000 for 12 people.
Yeah.
And I booked like this massive holiday home and we did this planning session there. It was so fun. Like we made toasted sandwich. It was a great team building exercise for a small company.
That's what you need. Yeah.
It was me. We went on the luge, went into the hot pools.
Yeah.
I actually, for a sec, I was like, maybe I should be a travel consultant or something.
Oh, absolutely. Well, once you pay for your employees' luge, you got them for life. Everyone says that, right?
Everybody loved that. And one of the most valuable parts is that we did these breakout sessions that just focus on process. So we took a day off work, which I think was valuable.
Yeah.
And the outcome is that we identified where are the friction points in our process. And at the time, this is a few years ago now, it was like in support. And some of the foundations that we laid that day are still in place today.
Yeah.
And I remember we had I think 3 other people in my little kind of unit that had to like fix this. And for 1 month, they just were relentless and just updated that process. I put all of my business development stuff on the side and I was just the only person on support.
Oh, it's incredible.
And
I'm shaking. I was just talking about process. I love it.
But it was funny because I remember we had one of our biggest sales months ever.
Well, there you go. Yeah. And I think, obviously learning every day, not trying to come across as an expert whatsoever. From my humble opinion, those moments where you're actually taking a sit and looking very high level down, if you play it out, compared to all the sales calls that you would have made just going on and ticking along, how impactful is that to the top line? It's huge. It's insane. So, those conversations, probably worth tens of thousands of dollars per hour that you guys were doing that. When you look at it that way, it's pretty awesome.
And you think, a lot of the time people go, I can't do it, got this. But it's almost like one step back, 10 steps forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's hard to think in the short term, but I mean, as a bit, now you're in the business owner or you're trying to build a business, that's the only way to think, right? So, yeah.
And you say, like, in your humble opinion, I think it's like a classic Kiwi way of downplaying success. But, if you've actually gone through that process yourself and it's working for you, lean into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And once again, I've been very privileged to see, people much older and more tenure in the industry, their journey, and share very intimate moments of that with them. And that's given me a lot of perspective in terms of the challenges that you face and the things that are important. So that's where it's coming from. Yeah.
I remember you telling me, I thought it was it's like amazing lateral thinking when you were a new advisor and a couple of times clients had chosen to go with other brokers.
Oh,
and
yes.
This
one hurts.
Yeah,
but
I think it's a good one to share. Like,
yeah.
What did you do?
So, I suppose earlier in my journey, when you're still figuring out the ins and outs, especially the challenging applications in certain cases that may need to go to non-main bank and those sorts of things, where you're trying your very best for the client and you get to an end result and you say, look, this is where we're at and we can't actually fully achieve what you're after. And it's sort of left at that stage where it's just what we've achieved. We've, workshop with the team and we can't really do much more for you. And in some of those cases, 5 or 6 years ago, I'm trying to say it was ages ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. I was an infant. But, you keep in touch with a client that say, look, I went to another mortgage advisor who managed to get the thing across the line. And at the time, it's an ego hit, you to have to eat some humble pie and say, wow, based on my skill set, I wasn't actually able to achieve that. But, it got to the point where you have to actually just say, hey, this is a massive learning opportunity because if I'm going to be long-term in this game, I need to be the guy that can, knows everything and can get things done and can make things happen. So actually in contacting the advisor and saying, hey, look, you've dealt with this client and got the deal across the line. Like, how did you do it? What are the intricacies? And please teach me. And the couple of times that I did do it, after the client, the broker's got a bit of smugness, he gets rid of that after 30 seconds, and he's fully willing to help. And getting things out of that is huge. So that was a big problem with me. It's like a bit of an ego there. When you don't get the result, you're just really, it gets to you.
It's hard to
follow the ego. Yeah, don't take it personally. Everything with management, we don't hit you hit your KPIs or when you all these sorts of things. But then it's just constantly looking yourself in the mirror and saying, no, the only thing that matters is best possible outcome for the customer and you getting better every day. And if you look at it that way, come on, how can you not be successful? So it's just trying to remind yourself that. And in those certain cases, that's what I did. And next time that deal came up, we got it done. So, yeah.
Valuable lesson.
Very valuable. Yeah, huge.
I've found like when I started in the industry, I was pretty green and I was on support and somebody would ask me about the software and how to use it. And there was like so many times where I'd just be like, hey, what does this term actually mean?
Yeah.
And advisors, I think they're naturally great teachers.
Yeah.
So, whether it be insurance or mortgage, insurance, I feel like mortgages seem to make sense for somebody who's green in the industry to just pick up relatively quickly. But the insurance side of things, like all the intricacies, I found that to be a bit more of a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
But the insurance advisors were great at explaining the ins and outs of certain products and why they're valuable, why people need them.
Oh, because it's their day-to-day. It's the bread and butter. Yeah, absolutely.
And I was always a bit, if you're helping with somebody on support, you want to be the expert, you want to have all the answers. But
yes.
I remember Chuck being like, honestly, just ask people because it's better that you ask them and rather than trying to, talk about a BS and then they can see right through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I still do the BS part, but most of the time it.
But I think your nature, like we're seeing your journey as well, because I was at MA when you joined the industry many years ago now. It's just it really just comes down to a sort of zest for your job and always learning, always improving, always learning. How can you be, always learning? And then you'll get to the point where you can educate people like yourself, right? Like this, I'm very confident now that when you get a phone call from an advisor around your offering, Can and Trail, there's never a situation where you can't answer that question, I'm pretty sure, right? So
that whole like cognitive, automotive learning process, I feel like now it's just...
And that's rewarding. That's massively rewarding. So
like riding a bike.
Like riding a bike, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What was I going to talk about? God, I had something in my head, but you gave me a nice little compliment.
It flustered you, the compliment.
Goodness, not used to it. It's like when people ask me questions on this sometimes, I'm just like so used to just like playing defense on ping pong, just knocking it back. But then someone's like, what do you think? I'm like, goodness, does anyone want to hear what I think? Oh, no, that's it. Okay. So I follow you on Instagram.
Yes.
And I know you produce a lot of content.
We try, yeah. We're redesigning it at the moment, but it's something, one of our goals is to be active. Yeah.
Why are you redesigning it? Because I like it. One of my favorite. So what is it, Mr. Mortgage NZ?
Mr. Mortgage NZ, yeah, that's
Mr.
the brand.
Mortgage NZ.
Yeah.
And is there a Mrs. Mortgage NZ?
Not yet.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
Okay. But so one of my favorite ones, this is peak Warriors fever. When they were like just like the crescendo of the playoffs.
Yes.
You couldn't turn on the news without there being a story about some school kids saying up the wires. Like it was just, and you did this great video, and it was, what can one Warriors star buy based on their income that we know due to the salary cap? And the Warriors jersey you're wearing was like quite tight fitting. I'd say if you're listening to this, give it a look. It's something to behold.
A couple of cheese toasties ago. Yeah.
But like, how do you find the outreach on those? Is it just brand stuff, or do you get leads from it? Or like what's the impact that those videos have, and how do you come up with them?
Our pure intention for content is brand. We want people to understand who we are and get familiar with our business, so that when we do, call on them to assist with their mortgage, they know who we are. That's our only pure goal, is brand awareness. And that's why we're trying to redesign it to make it really clean and professional and just invest more into it. But yeah, with the Warriors one, it's just trying to stay relevant and, put in something that people actually care about and something that's going on. And, it's not just, what's a revolving credit, because we'll talk about that, but we want something people can relate to and just to get them thinking about mortgages and property ownership. It was pretty funny on that video when I posted I think the income we were using was about 600K in all the comments, and I was playing it off like it's an anonymous member of the team. And they're like, it's only one person in the Warriors who earns $600,000. It's not very anonymous.
I liked the other one you did where you look at property sales in certain areas and what they're going for and good buys. Yeah. I remember that was like the hardest part when you're trying to buy a home.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're getting the right price, but it's it can be, the data's there, but it's actually just getting it into a palatable way.
Yeah.
We had a spreadsheet that we like looked at properties of similar size and value and put them in there.
Oh, incredible.
To give us like an idea of what might be.
You're leagues ahead of most first home buyers then. That's incredible. Yeah.
So when we got our place, I remember actually thinking, this is a good deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for you, like, do you do it on a specific area where you're trying to target customers? Or is it just you find deals online, you're like, I'm going to talk about that in the video?
Well, we do a couple of different series that you're referring to. So one is find a specific area and then look at property sales in this area. And then the other one that you're talking about is finding ones that sold at auction, significantly under the CoreLogic valuation or the CV even, because those ones are quite interesting because we want to analyze, why did it sell under? Is this an indication of the current market? Because there was that period where sales at auctions were significantly less. So it's different. It's different. Every series has a different agenda, and we just want to talk about property because people want to know what's going on, especially our buyers. They don't have time to trawl through, recent sales and figure out what's going on. And we do the property sale, then we do, okay, what does the mortgage on this actually look like based on current interest rates? So people can say, okay, I've been thinking about getting in for some time. This is actually a property that I'd be pretty keen on. I've got this 20% deposit and these numbers actually check out. So just starting the conversation. If we get a message, we have gotten some messages saying, hey, can you look at my numbers? But, we just want to educate people. And that's the number one thing. Yeah.
Is there a client that stands out? This could be from your previous tenure at MHQ, but
yep.
What is the longest period from first conversation to client buying a property that you've experienced?
Oh.
What was that story?
It's got to be at least 4 years. And I'm sure there's other brokers out there who have had way longer than that. But 4 years, which is interesting if you think your average closing might be like 90 days for first-time buyers, some longer. But from maybe first conversation. But 4 years, and it's just, for the one I can think of, is just they were miles away from getting the deposit together. And so it's just putting a plan in place, education on putting the plan in place, and then slowly working towards getting the pre-approval and then finding the right property. So that was that case for, yeah.
And what was the reaction when they got there?
Oh, stoked. Yeah, absolutely stoked. For those specific ones, they're always super rewarding because you know that you've gotten the payoff for that work you've done maybe 4 years ago. And there's so many of those where tenure in the industry, you get a text saying, hey, you did my brother's mortgage 3 years ago. We're keen to get that pre-approval. So those are hugely rewarding and just feel good, moments. We had one very recently at Blueprint where the customer got in touch and had been to direct to bank and one of the mortgage advisor and was told that they couldn't qualify, for pre-approval. We looked at them, did the deep dive fact find strategy session and said, look, hey, we actually think using a bit of overtime income, we can make this one work. And we got the approval across the line and they had a contract pretty much the next day. And so that transitioned over the new year and they thought, wow, we're getting straight into our property. I've actually never had a client more stoked. They were freaking out and they just couldn't believe that they didn't have to pay for the service. I'm not even bragging now, but this is what they said. They just, I can't believe this is a free service. Yeah. In her words, she said, I hope the bank pays you heaps. That's what she said. So it was brilliant, from sometimes when you can't get the result to people being ecstatic. And every mortgage advisor's got that because there's so many great mortgage advisors out there, but the true mortgage broker, that's what you're in it for,
Getting
obviously
great outcomes there.
Yeah. And I mean, we're lucky enough that, what the banks pay is very fair. And when you do this at scale, you can make a really decent living. So the fact that you can get great outcomes for customers, have control of your business and do things like, earn some money is amazing. So yeah, there we go.
And you can offer so much value to those types of customers.
Specifically those ones, yes. Yeah.
It's like a complete no-brainer. And just think like the more you have those types of stories and the longer you're in business, it just becomes easy because you've naturally helped more people. They want to refer friends.
Oh, it's so exciting.
People chat.
If you just do a good job, good things happen. So
it's actually simple. If you're passionate, you help people, you're friendly, like it does give back.
Exactly. And you notice in the times where maybe the passion's not there, if you reflect on your career, I've had over 8 years now, periods where I wasn't 100% in it. You reflect on those times and those would be the, where you got maybe not the best client outcomes and, not the best volume, not the best output, it'll be when the passion's not there. So as long as you can find a way to keep the passion, it's really hard not to do a good job and make people happy and make a good amount of money. So, yeah, it's all about the passion. Yeah.
I remember there's a story about you, a friend of mine who'd use you as their mortgage broker.
Oh, yeah?
And
this isn't about
and before their auction, they said, you sent them a text saying, Maybe it's something you do like all the time. You send them a text saying, give them hell.
Yeah.
And that type of passion is so good.
And to everyone listening, that's what's stimulating the property market. That's why we had the hideous inflation is for mortgage brokers run it up. No. I just, absolutely. No,
like a sports team coach.
it's the support. Yeah, it's the support. That's the most exciting thing, for first home buyers. Do a hell of a lot of refinance, but the first home buyers is where the thrills happen. Also, the refinance where you do the restructure, save people a ton of money is massively rewarding. I just think that's one of the coolest things you can do when you find a client who's maybe there's a debt consolidation or they're with a lender that's a bit higher, manage to get the approval, bring the interest payments down. That is just a thrill, man. Massive thrill. But yeah, support, and that's how you get referrals.
It sounds simple. Because it is.
It is simple, but then again, you get in the thick of it and it seems really complicated. But at the end of the day, how many conversations are you having a week? How many referral partners are you trying to network with? What's your marketing look like? What's the budget? Just the basics. But once you're in it, it seems pretty confusing. But you just need someone like I got Madav and the team to support, to keep you in it, keep you honest. Yeah.
I can see the passion. You got a fire lit in you.
Oh, I love it. I love this industry, amazing people to be working with, and it's just good time. So all good.
It might be because of that strong coffee that I made you as well.
I am buzzing. Yeah. Is this a coffee tea or is this just a coffee?
Daniel's got this thing he makes where he puts coffee with a tea bag in it and calls it a coffee tea, which I think is it's ingenious. Now this is a trail flat white because we do a drip coffee setup here. We don't have a frother, so that foam you got on top. That's actually because I just got the milk carton and shook it up. Oh, that's poured it in.
See, hand foamed. It's hand foamed. Oh, Jesus. It's like we're at Howick Historical Village. Yes, buddy. We're pretty close. Yeah. Fantastic.
There was actually a harmless prank I played on somebody at work here for a while where I'd make them coffee and I'd shake it and pour it in there.
Froth.
And they were like, where's the frother? I'm like, it's just in the kitchen. We've had it for ages. And they like several times I'd get up and walk in there trying to find it.
It's this old thing.
They caught me eventually. But because we did the drip coffee, it's got now the term, the trail flat white.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to stick.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
Good to hear you buzzing. In fact, that drip coffee.
Yes.
We had somebody come in yesterday who was hanging for a coffee. Yeah. They go, can I have a flat white? And I was like, bad news. There's no good coffee shops within a 5-minute drive from here.
Yes.
And we've only got drip coffee.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, let me try it.
I hope Coffee Club Highland Park's not listening when you say that just around the corner. Jeez. Anyway, keep going.
Won't get into that.
Yeah.
And they asked for a second cup. They loved it.
Brilliant. What an outcome. Was this an advisor?
This is an advisor.
So but an advisor will drink anything. You know what I mean?
No, I think they specifically said they don't drink. And we made a joke. I said, look, if it's bad and you get here, I give you permission to throw the coffee over the person who made it, which they said they wouldn't do.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's different. And I can tell it's like you're going to be like firing on all cylinders all day.
It's going to be a great day. Yeah.
So we should probably, I was kind of naturally wrapping things up. But thanks so much for coming in today. I think your journey is a unique one. Yeah. And I think if you look at where you were 7-8 years ago to where you are now, the difference is just monumental. You've got proven success, but then you've gone out and started your own thing. Yeah. You're crushing it there. And I'm really excited for the future for Blueprint yourself, Daniel.
Oh, thanks, mate. It's a testament to the people I've been in business with and worked with. The support it's been pure class. And the outlook on this industry and your business especially and what you guys are doing, supporting advisors is just incredible. And I'm just so excited to, have our next podcast. Maybe it's 5 years from now or whatever, but
that would be... I mean, we've already done 2 on one week because of a mistake on the audio from the last one.
Can't get me away from this place. Yeah. No, beautiful.
But thanks so much, man. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, mate. No, cheers.